Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we wanted to sit down and have the opportunity to talk about the current state of Star Wars gaming and the near future of Star Wars gaming, all framed around the upcoming Star Wars Outlaws out of Massive Entertainment and Ubisoft. Now, if you've been with us for a long time, you will know that for the past 6 months or so, we have been extensively and almost exclusively covering Marvel Spider-Man 2 because that was the game that we were most excited for, and it was the hottest commodity of 2023. But as many of you know, this channel was built on the backs of our love of Star Wars and Star Wars gaming. And this is a conversation that we've wanted to sit down and have for a long time, honestly dating back to that first trailer reveal for Star Wars Outlaws, and we believe that now is a great time to do it given the recent developments in Star Wars gaming over the past few weeks and just the tumultuous nature of it at this current moment. But before we get into this conversation, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that, just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button, the bell notification right on next to it. It'll notify you every single time that Andreas and I upload. Now that out of the way, Andreas, are you ready to have a conversation that we have been wanting to have for a very long time?
Oh yeah, let's talk some Star Wars.
Before we get into our conversation about Star Wars Outlaws, I think the best place to start is just a general conversation about the current state of Star Wars gaming. And I think it's something, Andreas, that a lot of us are confused about exactly where we stand with certain projects, especially given the recent events surrounding KOTOR, with it reportedly being canceled and then a week later it's uncanceled. And we don't know exactly what is going on with that game. And that's kind of the feeling we get around a lot of Star Wars projects, is there's not really a clear timeline, a clear roadmap right now for Star Wars gaming. We're supposedly supposed to be entering a new golden age of Star Wars gaming, and we are entering a new era of Star Wars gaming now that we are entering the post-EA exclusive window for Star Wars games. So we really are entering some uncharted territory with Star Wars, and it kind of feels like we're off to a little bit of a rocky start.
That's right, Nick, and I'm really glad that you mentioned the phrase golden era of Star Wars gaming, because that certainly was the phrase that was being tossed around just about half a year ago. I'm thinking about 6-7 months ago, we had the release of an incredible AAA Star Wars title with Jedi Survivor that really made waves in the Star Wars community. We really thought that we were getting off to a great start, and then the news of Star Wars gaming being passed on to other studios with the unveiling of Star Wars Outlaws just 2 months later. We got a great demonstration, a very impressive and solid demonstration out of Massive Entertainment, showing just what they were thinking of doing with the Star Wars property. And it did seem like things were looking up. And there were a few outliers. Of course, we knew that Eclipse was off to a tumultuous start, with Quantic Dream having issues within their studio, and then the timeline of that game being years and years away. But in the past 5 months, it's kind of gone quiet, Nick. And really, the main news that we've had in recent weeks is this news of KOTOR. Is it happening? Is it not happening? And there's been evidence in both directions. There's been insiders on both sides of that debate. And now it's seeming like it is on, but God knows when we're going to get our hands on that game. But when we're looking at what solidly we can look forward to at this point, it seems like we have our known quantities in the Respawn team. We know that there is going to be a Jedi 3. We know what we are going to be getting out of the Jedi team over at Respawn. They've delivered time and time again. We know they're going to deliver again. We know that there is also a team at Respawn working on a single-player narrative-driven story game. And I'm very excited to see what we are going to be getting out of that. And then we also have a Bit Reactor Respawn team working on a strategy game, which I'm also excited to see. So that is on the EA side of things. We know they have a roadmap of what they're working on. But then, Nick, it seems like there's a few loose ends hanging around. We have a Skydance new media project that it's apparently a revival of Project Ragtag under Amy Hennig's direction, and that is certainly something that we're looking forward to. But other than that, Nick, it seems like the real game to look forward to now is Star Wars Outlaws. But given how much we've seen of Star Wars Outlaws, which is a lot of great things, there seems to still be some sort of a negative outlook and negative expectation when it comes to this game. And I'm trying to figure out, why is that?
Yeah, it really is confusing for me. We sat down and asked you guys in a community poll this week which Star Wars games you're most excited for, and we also asked, are you straight out just excited for Star Wars Outlaws? And honestly, we were a little surprised by some of the reactions that we saw, and we honestly have been surprised by the reactions we've seen about Star Wars Outlaws over the past few months, because this game is truly going to usher in the next era of Star Wars gaming, because this is going to be the first non-EA Star Wars title that is coming after that exclusive window ended. So this is the first non-EA Star Wars game that we are getting in over 10 years outside of Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, but that's a little different because they were working within the bounds of the Skywalker story, and we all know what we're getting when it comes to TT games. We know exactly what a Lego Star Wars game is going to be and what they're going to deliver, but Star Wars Outlaws is the first truly next-gen AAA title that is not an EA Star Wars property. So it is an incredibly important game because it is going to set the tone for Star Wars gaming going forward. If it is a great entry into Star Wars gaming, then I think that really helps set an expectation for other studios and a standard for other studios going forward. But if they fumble the bag and it doesn't go well, that's not a great way to start your next era of Star Wars gaming. And if we are supposedly entering this next golden age of Star Wars gaming, then Star Wars Outlaws has to start us off on the right foot. However, all we've seen up to this point, like you said, is a CGI trailer and a gameplay walkthrough that looked incredible. But Andreas, like you said, the reactions have been very negative. It's almost like people are prejudging this game for some reason. And a lot of it has to do with Ubisoft being involved. And a lot of it has to do with, honestly, a lot of other nonsense surrounding this game. And it's truly something that I just don't quite understand.
One criticism that I'm seeing being echoed over and over again at this point is that this game is being published by Ubisoft, and because of that, this game is not going to be a great game. And one thing that I want to keep in mind with this criticism is that while this game is being published by Ubisoft, it is being developed by Massive Entertainment. So I don't think it is fair to pull back the resume of every single Ubisoft product and then compare this game to those games. I don't think it's fair to compare this game to, say, Watch Dogs, for example, another game that is published by Ubisoft but developed by an entirely different team in Ubisoft Montreal and Ubisoft Toronto. And while Ubisoft Toronto is in part at play with the development of this title, the main team involved in Star Wars Outlaws is going to be that Massive Entertainment team. And I think the most accurate comparator for this game would be looking at Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, which as of late has been getting positive feedback. They had an early access demonstration behind closed doors. Playthroughs were extended to various content creators and video game publications, and the vibes surrounding that project have been neutral to positive, not necessarily something that you would expect out of the overwhelmingly negative reactions we've seen of Outlaws just based on the fact that it is being published by Ubisoft. I think if we're looking at a game like Avatar, it is being developed by Massive Entertainment. It is a true next-gen title that is delivering on what it promised, and I think this is a positive look for Star Wars Outlaws, especially if you keep into consideration that this team will have worked with one another and they will have worked out a lot of the kinks in the Snowdrop engine by then. This is an engine that has proven time and time again that it can support the kind of gameplay that is being promised with Star Wars Outlaws. And so for me, I think there's a lot of things to look forward to with this title. I will proceed cautiously, but I don't think there has been sufficient reason to doubt this game just based upon the fact that it is being published by Ubisoft. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because I feel like if you took that gameplay that we saw and if you just told somebody or a bunch of people that it wasn't made by Ubisoft, I feel like the general feeling in the room around this game would be a lot more positive. And honestly, some of the reactions we've seen and some of the reasons that people are already hating on this game are just outright nonsense. Some people are hating on this game because it's a female protagonist Like, just, that's kind of ridiculous, guys. We just got Jedi Survivor, which was a male protagonist only. Like, there was no female option for that. And to be upset over something like that is just, you're looking for a reason to be mad at this game. And it's something that I just honestly don't understand. And whether you like it or not, this game is incredibly important for the reasons that we laid out. This is the first next-gen AAA Star Wars title after the EA exclusive window has dropped. This is the first one coming from a non-EA Star Wars team. And it is incredibly important that this starts this next era of Star Wars gaming off on the right foot and in a positive direction. Because if this is an absolute disaster, if this game does fail, we could be in a lot of trouble going forward. This could really make Lucasfilm and Disney and all of them take a step back and maybe reconsider the whole future of Star Wars games. And this could have a lasting and domino effect on Star Wars games that we are looking forward to down the road. Like, we honestly don't know what's going to happen in this new era. We really are entering uncharted territory with Star Wars gaming ever since Disney purchased Star Wars. So it really is important that this game gets off on the right foot. And Andreas, now that we are entering an era where EA doesn't have a monopoly on Star Wars, it could push them in different ways if games like this are successful.
That's exactly right, Nick, because now there is true competition between developers. And if I'm sitting over at Respawn, for example, and I'm watching this gameplay walkthrough that the Ubisoft team has put out over at Massive, I'm thinking of ways to make a better Star Wars game than development teams that are elsewhere. So, and vice versa, if I'm working on Star Wars Outlaws, I'm going to look at Jedi Survivor and I'm going to think, how can I make this game better than previous titles that Star Wars fans have played? And I think this competition is going to be good for us. It's going to be good for the consumer because these studios are going to try to improve their games to earn our hard-earned money, because at the end of the day, that's what we are concerned about is, are we spending our money on games that deserve our money? Because we have seen different developers put out products that are unfinished, that are downright broken, and I'm hoping that this increased level of competition is going to really increase pressure on these dev teams to really put out quality products. And at the end of the day, I think that's going to make everyone better off.
And just to wrap this all up, I want to make sure that people understand what we're saying. We're not saying to just go into this game blindly and support it and love it and just completely push out any possible negatives that could be coming with this game. What we're saying is give this game a chance. Just because it's published by Ubisoft doesn't mean it's going to be an awful game. Go in giving it a chance for it to be a great game, but go in cautiously optimistic, because what we've seen so far looks absolutely incredible. And if this game lives up to what they've shown up to this point, then I do think that this game is going to be a very special Star Wars game, and a game that a lot of us have been looking forward to for a very, very long time. But to just go out there and say, oh, this game is published by Ubisoft, or the fact that the main lead of this game is a female means that this game is awful, is just a really bad way to look at gaming as a whole, and something that I just would not encourage anybody to do. So guys, just keep an open mind going into Star Wars Outlaws, and if this is a game that you are excited about, then be excited about it. I would just say, like Andreas said, and this honestly fits to any game coming out going forward, just be cautiously optimistic until we see more about this game. But guys, let us know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts on the current state of Star Wars gaming? What are your thoughts on this whole KOTOR saga? What are your thoughts on Star Wars Outlaws? Which game are you most excited for that is coming out of the Star Wars universe? Is it Outlaws? Is it Eclipse? Is it the Respawn FPS or the strategy game? Or is it Jedi 3? I know we're all looking forward to what Respawn is going to be cooking up, but I am really excited for Outlaws because, again, not an EA Star Wars game, and this is going to be the first in a very long time. And I'm just excited to see what a different developer can do with the IP that we love the most. I honestly cannot wait for Outlaws. So let us know your thoughts down below in the comments. Anyway, that is going to do it for us for this one. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.